Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I am so excited to be welcoming a really special guest. My name is Emily Otten. I'm one of the many marketing directors we have on this incredible team, Legacy Peak. And we have a really amazing guest with us today, Bree Bergford. Look at her in her cute little hat. I hope that I have good Wi-Fi because I feel like, can you guys hear me? Okay. For a second there, Bree cut out. So I was like, uh-oh, I hope I have good Wi-Fi. So we have this call every Tuesday at noon Central Time. It's really where we take 30 minutes to come together and we share maybe some successes, maybe some training, maybe even some setbacks, because we all have experienced some type of setback in our business. And really just come together to be inspired and empowered and learn together. And hopefully when you leave today, you will feel like just so incredibly honored to hear Bree's story, because I remember the first time hearing Bree's story years ago, my jaw was totally dropped. So you might want to grab some Kleenexes, you might want to grab a pen and paper. But just to introduce Bree and her husband Brad live in Parker, Colorado, and they have 4 grown kids and 3 new daughters. Bree said yes to Juice Plus 17 years ago because their kids were constantly sick and they really needed a solution. Her passion for health and nutrition grew after they saw incredible results from these little fruits and vegetables in a capsule. They realized quickly that if they changed their family's health, other people had to know about it. What she didn't realize then was how this business would change so many lives and truly give them hope. Bree has now worked with the Juice Plus company since the day they signed up for the product and is a 75 Club presidential marketing director. She is a 2-time Elton Award nominee with a thriving team, which is incredible. Together, they have created an amazing community, and this business has impacted Bree and her entire family in many ways, and she is so thankful to God for bringing it into their lives, which you will hear about today. And now she sees it as a way to help people find the same freedom and the ripple effect that it has on future generations. So I know Bree is, I think you're officially going to be a grandma, which is so exciting.
Yes.
I love that.
I need to add that to my bio as you were talking. I was like, I better announce that. Very excited.
Oh my goodness, such amazing news. I was so excited to see that post. But whenever I say Bree is a 75 Club, if you guys are newer on the call, you might be like, what does that mean? When we talk about the 3 things we do, we help people become raving fans and love their Juice Plus. We bring people along to become partners and affiliates with Juice Plus, and we build a qualified business. So her team has helped 75 people have that qualified business, which is what we talk about often. So Bree, I'm just so grateful that you said yes to sharing with our team today. We are so honored to have you on. And yeah, go ahead and take it away.
Okay, thanks you guys. I'm so excited to be here today. And I just have a lot of things that I just was starting to take notes this morning. And so I'm going to kind of be referring to my notes a lot because God just kind of downloaded some stuff I want to share with you. So, okay, well, I want to say that long before I ever said yes to this business, I really feel like God had a plan, and this is kind of for such a time as this moment, but really it's been a lot of moments over and over again. And so I also want to say this before I start my story and jump into that. I just know that, you might be like, I want to say something to each one of you, and you all might be in a different place. You might be knocking on the door of SC, or you might be knocking on the door to QNMD. I actually heard there's a couple of you. You might be looking at 24 Club and trying to hit that, or re-hit something that you hit in the past, or you might just be trying to qualify your business, or you might be on this call today and you might be like, gosh, I really would love to have some momentum, but I really haven't been doing a lot. And I don't even actually know why I'm on this call. I don't care which one of those people you are. I want you to know that I'm glad you're here today. And what I also want you to think about is I want you to really lean in. I'm going to read my notes here because I feel like this was something that just hit me today. And I've never thought of it this way, but I want to lean in and hear my story as if I might be the very next person that you bring onto your team. Okay, so I want you to think of it like that. Like, don't put yourself you could find yourself though in my story in different places. So think about that too. But I want you to be reminded of how important it is to be looking for those people that we can serve. And I know you guys are doing this whole thing right now on love, serve, and grow. And I love that. And I think it's amazing. And so there's a few things like that I'm going to share kind of but I really want you to be leaning in and listening. So whether it's you find yourself somewhere in a story, or you think about yourself as like, wow, what if I would have stopped, or what if I stop now, instead of thinking about that person that maybe would join my team. So sit back, and I hope that you guys are blessed by this. Okay, so 17 years ago, March, gosh, I can't believe it. March, it's been 17 years since I have been in this company. And I'm going to share a little part of the beginning of my story that some of you maybe have never heard. And it just adds a little bit more like background detail to my story that I shared recently with someone. They're like, you have to, I think it was Lauren LaHobb, and she's like, you have to say that part of your story. And so here's what's crazy. I had these friends. So you guys, you may or may not know my story, but my husband and I got married when I was 26. He already had all 4 of our kids. So if you're thinking that I look really great to be a grandma, well, you know, I think it's also juice plus in my body for 17 years, but I am a little too young to be like starting to have grandkids. But here's what's crazy. Oh my gosh, 19 years for you the other day. Congratulations. That's so fun. What's crazy is that, so I had just married my husband, had these 4 brand new kids. I'm 26 years old, 6 to 11. I think I already said the ages. And I was just like learning how to be a mom, but like go back a little bit more. And we got married in August. And this is kind of important to the story, because here we got married in August. We went on our honeymoon. We got back, and literally the night we got back was back to school night, and the kids started school. So it was like I was thrown into like, okay, this is like real life. This is like momming. Like seriously, I had quit my job so that I could be home full time with the kids, because they had basically grown up in daycare. My husband had been a single dad for almost 5 years. So anyway, but that's part of our story. And so I distinctly remember this day that I went into Goodwill. This is important to the story, just so you kind of have a little bit more of a like, wow, this is really where she was. Because I always share that we were on food stamps and Medicaid when I first started, but I want you to know a little bit of what that felt like. And as I was thinking about it earlier, I totally started crying, and I was like, man, God has brought us so far. So I went to Goodwill this day that we had dropped the kids off. It was either the first or second day of school. And I am in Goodwill. And do you all know what I mean by like, there's a smell in Goodwill that kind of always is the smell, like everyone know what I'm talking about? Not to knock Goodwill, because sometimes you find great things, but I like walked in there, and I think it really hit me that we literally had no money, but the kids were growing so fast and they needed new clothes, and Brad was in school, and I said, well, I'll just go grab some stuff for them. And I remember being in there, and like, it was a really gross Goodwill. Like in the town we lived in, it was kind of extra nasty. And so I'm like looking through the clothes, smelling the stuff. And my friend Kathy calls me to talk to me about how she thinks that this business would be amazing for me. And I literally, you guys, this is so dumb, and it's embarrassing to admit, I'm like rolling my eyes as I'm in the store, literally just thinking like, I hate that I'm here. I hate that we have no money. And she's trying to offer me a lifeline. And I was like, I don't know what she's trying to tell me, but I don't want this. So I thanked her very politely, and I hung up the phone, but it was years before I actually remembered that she tried to offer this to me, and I completely blew her off. But Gus, Kathy, and Jim, they kept sharing with me. They kept asking me, and they knew that we were in a struggle. And literally, as like God would have it, today I sat down right before I was gonna, like take all these notes about what I wanted to share today. And I found this piece of paper that in an old drawer, like probably 6 months ago. And I've been reading it off and on, but I realized today that this was from 2005, but I started Juice Plus in 2006. So this was literally like maybe 3 months before I said yes to the business. But there's a part on here where I'm literally like, God, we need you to provide. Like, we have no money. I mean, I remember the kids had holes in their shoes, you guys, and it was so difficult, and I just couldn't see a way out. But like, here I was asking for provision in 2005 and writing these Bible verses down and knowing he was faithful, but I didn't know how he was going to meet those needs. So fast forward, we finally agreed to go to this event with them. We took all our kids because they said, we'll take you to dinner if you guys come. And I was thinking, oh, it's like a timeshare. Like, we just go, we listen, we say no, and then we run out the door, but like, we all got a free dinner and it's not McDonald's. And so anyway, we go to this thing. And I will never forget, at the end of this talk, it was Jennifer Meyer sharing about kids' nutrition. My youngest was 6, and he's taking all these notes about partially hydrogenated oils and all this stuff. And he's like, look, Mom, this is amazing. Like, we got to go home and throw all our stuff away in the pantry. And I'm just like, my head is swirling, and my husband looks at me and he has tears in his eyes. And he said, honey, I feel like I've been killing the kids and I didn't even know it, because he was feeding them McDonald's or fast food like almost every night. And anyway, then the next thing out of his mouth was, we can't afford not to be on Juice Plus. And so I said, Okay, so I took a cleaning job like that week to be able to help afford Juice Plus. I signed up to be a rep because they told me that it would I could save a little bit. And I literally had the thought, if I could save $10 a year, that would feel like 1,000 to me. So I said yes, but then I promptly, if you guys know this part of my story, I put my hand on my hip and the other one like really snarky in my friend's face. And I said, just so you know, I'm never telling anyone about this. Or get any ideas that I might actually want to do this business. I just wanted to save a little bit. So she's like, oh, that's fine. So we go home, we get on Juice Plus, fast forward 3 weeks. I am telling you, we had so many health changes because we were like the fast food family. So the health changes were out of control, all the things we noticed. And I could go on for 5 minutes, but I won't. But I mean, it was like eczema went away and heartburn. My husband's, prescription medicine, he didn't have to take it anymore. And we all started sleeping better and my skin cleared up and I had terrible, terrible acne. I have PCOS. And so my skin was really bad. All of a sudden I had this amazing skin. We all had this energy. I didn't want Diet Coke anymore. I mean, I could go on and on, but I won't. You guys all know Juice Plus is amazing. So at the same time, my husband, who was in school to be a lawyer, was super skeptical. He was kind of like, trust but verify, right? So he goes and he literally gets all the science and he like orders the hard copy. He didn't really understand it all, but he read every single bit. And then he came to me and he's like, okay, I know you don't really want to hear this, but he's like, between what I just read and all the research and what we have all experienced in our health, he said, I feel like we absolutely have to share this with people. And I feel like God's going to use it as a ministry. And I was like, what? Like, I was so confused and I was not on board, but I was kind of at the same time, if I was honest, I was really realizing like, okay, and there are other people that are struggling too. So let me just say, I fast forward a little bit and I started kind of, because I realized it was about them and it wasn't really about me, because I think I was so afraid someone might think something about me. I don't know, like, oh, she's a salesperson, or I don't know. What did I really think they were going to say? I'm not totally sure, but I had a lot of fears. But I went to my first conference in 2006. It was in Phoenix and it was in March. It was 2 weeks after I had signed up. How they got me to do that after I was like waving my finger in her face, I don't know, except that I sat in that room and for the first day and a half, I was a little bit like, I don't really know. These people are pretty happy. And I mean, I don't know. It sounds like I really was skeptical at that point. I was nice, but I just part of this. But by day 2, when they started with the NMD speeches, I'll never forget. I was sitting in the back of that room. All of a sudden, my heart just starts pounding. And I had this weird, like, feeling in my heart, like it just, and I'm crying and I'm like, what is happening to me? And I literally felt like I knew that the Lord said, you're going to be on that stage one day as a national marketing director. And I was like, wait a minute, I didn't even want to do this thing, but it was literally like something I knew I was going to do. But I will tell you, there are times in this business, and you guys can probably all relate. It wasn't like I just was like, oh, yay, I'm going to be an NMD and it's the end of the story. And then I got there and, that's not how it works. I literally walked out of the room, like the big conference room. I was walking back to my hotel by myself because, I didn't really know anybody there except my upline and her husband. And immediately this fear came over me. And I feel like it was totally the enemy trying to just take me out and be like, this is not for you. But I knew like, this feels kind of familiar. It was almost like, have you ever been to like a women's retreat and you feel like, you're supposed to do something, or, God's leading you some way, but then all of a sudden you get really fearful and you're like, I don't think I can do that. That's how I felt. And so I'm glad I recognized it. And I was like, okay. And so, but I wanted to just say, forget it all, because I thought this means I'm going to have to be a leader. This means what if I let people down? What if I let myself down? What if I fail? It was like all those things in my head. But I will tell you that I'm so glad that even though there were multiple times like that, where I was like, I don't know if I'm any good at this. What if I don't know, just, all the what ifs. I just really feel like this business and this community and these people around me just kind of rallied around me. And, I really started to realize what it looked like to get over myself and start sharing with people. Because around the same time, I had people starting to call me to say, hey, you know what, ever since I started Plus, happened and this has happened and I'm feeling this. And so what happened to me was like, all of a sudden I realized this had nothing to do with me, and I don't know if you've ever gotten to that point. I hope you've all gotten there so far, but you may have minutes that sneak back in like, I don't know if I should share, or I'm kind of scared to bring it up, but you guys, it's not about us. And I heard a training by Eric Worre yesterday, and it was so good. One of the things that's totally stuck out to me is he said, you have to have an urgency. And I kind of like finished what he was saying in my head. Do you ever do this? And I was like, oh yeah, there's got to be an urgency and you got to like do all these things. But then what he said next totally surprised me. He said, I mean, it has to be urgent for them. And I was like, oh, I tell my team all the time, this is a gift. We have a gift to offer, which is true. But like the fact that we have an urgency for them. I mean, when I think about our story, they had an urgency to tell they were really struggling. I mean, to not even know where like we were going to have our next rent payment. And one of the stories that I love is that probably 5 months into the business, I made a paycheck for $864. And I remember being so blown away because we literally didn't know how we were going to pay for our phone bill or our rent. And God literally, like the paycheck covered both of those things. And it just blew our minds. And so it was like, for the first time, my husband also said to me, I feel like we have hope about our finances and we don't have to wait till 6 years down the road when I'm a lawyer. And so I realized that this business could be so impactful. And then it just started growing. So like the fast forward version of my story is like, then it was like my income was doubling and then it was tripling and then I was paying this. And, now we were able to do these different things. I got to quit the cleaning job that I started because of Juice Plus. And I just started going, and I feel like pretty quickly I got to sales coordinator, and that was amazing. And I felt like, well, this is really fun. And then sales coordinator happened. And I don't know if you've ever had this, but where there was some level where maybe you felt a little stuck, and I got there and I felt a little bit stuck. And I'm going to talk about that in a couple minutes, but let me go through a little bit more of my notes. So, okay, here are some of the things that I've learned. Okay. The foundation of everything is love. I just feel like it has to be love, because if it's not, then we get too focused on, oh, what are they going to think of me? And what am I going to say? But if it's love, you will have that urgency. So I think I've always sort of known that, but I just love the way he put that to words yesterday. And then you guys are talking about love, serve, grow, right? But serving, as I was thinking about this morning, serving is how we get into action, right? Like if you're not willing to serve, there's not going to be any action. And I always tell my team, I'll take your and the action every day over the results, because the results will come. If you're a farmer, there's an urgency to plant the seeds in planting season because you know that there's going to be a harvest, right? So you may not know like how much you're going to get. You may not know what the season is going to look like, but you know that there's an urgency to plant those seeds. And so I think it's important to remember as we serve people, we just have to keep going. And this also, so if you don't have momentum right now, get out there and serve. And I promise you will get momentum. Like it'll blow your mind at how easily that shift can happen when you look at it like serving. And then grow. We grow when we step out in faith. Am I right? Like and also it's like, for me, the times of the most growth for me were actually the times of the most struggle. It wasn't in like oh, this happened so easy and oh my gosh, like those I didn't really grow very much, but I grew in the times where, was I going to quit or was I going to give up or was I going to keep going? And, and so it's really important to remember, don't despise the failures or the struggle, because those are really good. And it's also good because, this business isn't perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect, and so I don't think that bursts any bubbles today. I think we all know that. But I think also for our teams to know that we're going to pursue and we're going to keep going, even in the times that get difficult. And so, I want to ask you, are you just going to give up or throw in the towel when things get hard? Or are you going to decide to put yourself aside and be willing to love and serve the person who probably has been praying for the answer? Remember, I found this paper from 2005. You guys, I was praying, but I didn't see how God was going to do that. And we wanted so badly to move out of our literally we lived in the projects and it was so dangerous. We had one night, 7 cars in the parking lot got their tires slashed. I mean, we were like, get us out of here. And I was praying for a way to go to Colorado Springs and to be there so that my husband could go to school there. And he totally provided. And then that's when we found out about Juice Plus. And, you go back and you look and you're just like, wow, this is crazy how this all happens. But, there are people that are praying for the answers. So I want you guys to remember that. And also I'm going to throw out a challenge. I hadn't thought of this until now. When we get done with this call, I really encourage you, if you don't have something scheduled right after, just take like 5 minutes and set a timer and just write down some names that maybe are on your heart. And because there might be someone that you don't even know is looking for something, that maybe it'll be put on your heart as, as you're thinking about all of this and as you're wondering about what if and what this could be like for somebody else. I want you to write down those names because you just never know. And also, someone could have told you no 2 months ago, but there's so much changing right now. in so many people's worlds that they might need this in a way that they didn't 6 months ago. Okay. Also, we get to decide. You get to decide every single day. And I think that's hopeful for people. Like today could be a new day and you can do it differently than you did it last week or even yesterday. And one of my uplines, Sean Myers, always says, draw a line in the sand, and I want to encourage you, draw a line in the sand that like, okay, if you want it to be today, you can say, I'm going to do my business differently because I'm going to focus on I don't know, but what if this is a piece of the puzzle for you, your nutrition or healing journey? Oh, you have a lady on our team that says that all the time. And for people, that's just so powerful, Also, another thing I wanted to share is that when I was at sales coordinator and I felt kind of stuck and I was working on SSC, which felt like a really long journey. I can't remember if I was there I'd have to go back and do the math. Oh, I guess I was a sales coordinator for 4 years. Yeah, I'm doing the math right now. 4 years I was a sales coordinator, which felt like 27 because I just remember I had that vision of NMD early on, but it was like, oh my gosh. And I didn't really have a team that wanted to work. And it felt really kind of discouraging. I've learned along like motivate your team. Like you can't really, I don't know if that's the right word, but you can't make them do something, right? But you can inspire them and you can love them well and you can keep encouraging them. But it's always important to go out and get those new people because new people will also stir up you and they'll stir up your team. And so that's important to keep in mind. But what you do with this, I really feel like will forever impact your family. So I'm going to go back and share a part of my story that happened when I hit NMD. So the 6-year-old that had been sitting next to me at the little health talk that was taking all those notes, that literally did make me go home and we threw away pretty much everything in the pantry. And his name was Noah. Some of you guys know Noah. And he is our youngest, but when he was 15 is when I made National Marketing Director. And this is one of my favorite stories to tell because how many parents do we have on the line? Just give me one in the chat if you're a parent. I'm sure we have a few. I'm seeing some pictures. I know a lot of you and I know a lot of you have kids. So I think this story, you might want to grab your tissues, but I want you to really listen to this. So he was 6 when I started. He was 15 when I made NMD. When I got done giving my speech, they always would say like, it impacts your family when you get on that stage and give your speech. And I didn't really know what that meant. Well, they'll be proud of me. And I knew my husband, but our kids, I just didn't know what they would think. And I hadn't even given it much thought. But after it was over, later that day, my son came up to me and he put his hands on my shoulders. Now, pause and time out for a second. For any of you who've ever had or know a 15-year-old boy, they are not very open with their words and they're not real super heartfelt. They're really awkward. I actually didn't like any of my boys at age 15 very well. Don't tell them I said that, but they were just hard. And so they were just kind of honoring. If you said it's a beautiful blue day, they'd be like, no, it's purple. They just would, whatever. So this was kind of extra surprising, but he comes up to me, puts his hands on my shoulders and said, Mom, I just want to thank you for becoming a national marketing director. And I thought that was kind of weird. I didn't know if I don't know why he was thanking me. So I said, what? And then he hands on my shoulders, looks at me more intensely. And then he starts to get kind of emotional. And he says, Mom, I want to thank you. He just says it again. I want to thank you for becoming a national marketing director. And I look at him I don't understand. He could tell, I don't know why he's thanking me. And then, so he realized, and so then he said, Mom, I have watched you for these last 8.5 years. That's how long it took me to get there. And he said, I have watched you. And he said, you never gave up. And he said, you have helped so many people and you've loved so many people. And he said, I just have watched you over and over. And even when you didn't hit things, you just kept going. And he said, you have taught me that I can do anything that I want. And I'm so proud of you. And in that moment, it was like nothing else mattered. This kid our kids who had been so sick. Oh, I forgot to mention that part before we started Juice Plus. They were sick for 2 to 3 months at a time and they just weren't very healthy. And I just think about how Juice Plus even changed their health or what it did for them to realize that I loved them and was there for them. And so was their dad. But it was we were willing to do something that was going to impact other people. And my kids started to see from a young age, but I didn't realize it until later that they saw me taking care of other people too and loving other people and making a difference in the world. And you guys, I don't know, but if you're a parent, I feel like that's a pretty great thing for your kids to say. And I just didn't know that it was going to be that impactful. And then I had also told you guys that I was, at SC stuck for, what felt like forever. I know it was only 4 years and it could have been longer, but it was like, I felt really stuck, but I also found this a couple weeks ago. So this is also a note: save stuff from your kids because you will love having it later, even though they give you like 5 million things when they're little. Save them. I have a couple boxes full and they just bring me so much joy. But this, I just have to show you this. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but like in her little writing, "Dear Mommy," and like she drew a picture of us at our wedding, like at the thing. But I'm just going to read a couple things because this is when I was going for SSC. "I write this card as a reminder to you that you can count on me while Dad is preparing for the bar exam and while you are fast tracking to senior sales coordinator in your Juice Plus business. You can also count on me to behave and get done whatever needs to get done. I know you can do it, Mommy. I mean, who won the game last time?" And then she said, "Be encouraged from your daughter who believes in you with all her heart that you can make new customers and distributors. I love you and I'll be praying for you. Love, Sarah Jo." Anyway, I just think like they're watching more than we realize. And so I also want to remind you guys that your team is watching. And so it's important, it's not like I think of my team like I think of my kids, but I also realize that I have an opportunity to bless and love my kids and to help show them these things. But I also realize I have this incredible opportunity to show that to my team. And I realize we're getting short on time, so I'm going to just kind of go through my notes and see what else I want to say. There were also a few times I wanted to give up, you guys. So I mentioned the SC to SSC time. Right before NMD, I lost 3 sales coordinator legs. Right before, like I thought I was going to get there. And I lost 3. This is kind of important because someone might need to hear this today. I lost 3. I was at a boot camp. Jason LaChance was there. I literally went up to him and I was like pretty mad because like, I just was like, wow, all this stuff I thought I could count on. And I had already been working on it for so many years. And he looked at me. I didn't very much in the moment, but I have him since, and I think it was brilliant what he said to me. He looked at me and he said, "Bree, I hope this kind of pisses you off enough to get you to just keep going and to get you to go after it." And I was like, I was thinking that was really encouraging. Thanks a lot, Jason. But it was exactly what I needed to hear. And he was right. Like I couldn't be mad at who was like, I mean, really, like I really had 3 legs and they kind of fell apart for different reasons. And but what was really cool is when I did make NMD, I got all 3 new frontline SC legs. It's the only time I've gotten 3 frontline to me SC legs in one conference to conference time, but they all came and it just blew my mind what happened. And anyway, so I wanted to share that. And so if there's times that you wanted to give up, it's okay. We've probably all had those moments where you like fire yourself, but hire yourself again, because again, this is not about us and it's about those other people that we are impacting. Something that I wanted to mention just really briefly, and I know it kind of feels a little out of place right here, but just because I think it's important, my team has been doing a ton of connection calls. And I think what is so cool about them, and I don't know if you guys are a team that does those a lot or not, but for years I heard about them and I was also kind of like, I don't know if I love those. But when I started doing them with my team, it blows my mind, like how it would impact things, because 3 different things. And so write this down. If you're not doing them, here's my encouragement to start doing them. Your upline like wants to pour into you and they want to really help grow your team. And there's something about that third voice that is just magic. It's like having that amener, having someone to just kind of breathe some excitement and hope. And I don't care if you're Wendy Campbell or Jennifer Myers or Catherine Lee. I feel like if you don't have another person to just kind of come in and share the person's not as willing to believe you as if there's that third on there. Also, there's just, kind of what I already said, there's a power of another voice. They can help paint that vision. And I'll tell you, almost always we'll get off in my downline will say, "How did you get them to say that stuff to you?" And I'm like, I don't know. I literally just ask a couple of questions, but I think because they don't know me, there's something really safe about, they'll respond to me. And one of them was like the cousin of the girl. She's like, "I've known her for 27 years. And she's never told any of those things." So again, utilize your upline. They're there to help you. And also this makes them feel like they're part of something bigger and part of a family. And I want to say that on my team, one of the things that we love is we love team culture. We love that our team feels like a family, but the more you can connect them to people, whether it's on the phone or it's at an actual event, or it's because they come to conference and they get loved on by all of you, they're going to feel like they never want to leave. And in fact, I've had probably 20 people at times tell me, I almost left because of this, or this. Like, I just wasn't really doing anything, or I didn't need the money anymore. But you know what kept me here? It was the people. Like I've heard it so many times, you guys. And so when we can make people feel a part of it, I think it's powerful. Also, I want to say we always need to be reaching out to new people. It's great to love the ones you already have, but sometimes people are going to be in a season, right? And we love them whether we do a little, they do a little or a lot. That's all true, but it's really important to get to more people than you've already shared with. So I want to encourage you guys to be all in, because honestly, I mean, especially these last 3 years, we know, I mean, not that I want to talk about anything from the last 3 years, but we know that people are hungrier than ever before for their health, for financial, but more than anything, I feel like people are hungry for connection. They just are. And so when we can make them feel a part of that, it's just encourage and challenge you guys to urge them to love, serve them, and then grow. And I want you guys to know that I adore you. I adore your team. I know there's a lot of you I haven't gotten to meet yet, but I hope you'll come say hi in Phoenix if you're there. But as I was like just praying for you guys this morning and thinking about you, I just really, I want God to just give you all that you need and lead you, and that your ripple effect will be farther and wider than it ever has been. And I'm hoping and praying for you guys that this year is like the most incredible year that any of you have ever had, and that it's bigger and more amazing than anything you could ever ask for or imagine. So let's get out there together and go serve some people and love them well. So I was going to say, Carrie, I don't know if you guys, I mean, I know we're at 11:31, or my time, 12:31 for you guys. But if you guys have any questions, like I'm totally open to stay on, but I also want to honor your time. So if you guys want to open it up for questions, because I didn't read the chat at all. I didn't want to get distracted, but I'm sure there's a lot of things in there that maybe people ask questions.
Bree, you're so sweet. Emily, if you want to stop the recording, and then if people have to go, they can go. If you want to stay on for a minute, I would